Welcome you, and again, thank you for your patience. And this time, we would invite you to begin your testimony.
Thank you, and I appreciate the chairwoman and the ranking member having me, and the chairman of the committee. And I'm just here to answer questions, so I'll be happy to take them.
Great, thank you. We appreciate your presence here, and we will begin our round of questioning. I will recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Fitzgerald, do you believe that a president should consult with the special counsel when deciding whether to commute the sentence of an administration official who was the subject of the special counsel's prosecution?
I wasn't anticipating that I would be testifying on the commutation issue today, and all I can say is I recognize the president has the power to pardon or commute, and I won't go beyond that.
Did the president or anyone with the administration actually consult with you, as they would with the department generally, prior to the commutation of Scooter Libby's sentence?
I don't know what generally happens. I know that I was notified the day the decision was made, before it was being announced, shortly before, but I was notified. I wasn't consulted in the decision. I was notified of it, but I hadn't anticipated testifying about that issue, so okay. I don't want to go beyond that.
Okay, I appreciate that. With regard to your appointment as special counsel, you were told by Deputy Attorney General James Comey to follow the facts, do the right thing, and that you can pursue it wherever you want to pursue it. Do you believe that all special counsels should be given the freedom to determine the scope of their investigation?
I think I would back up and say that I think the scope of my investigation, if you mean the subject matter, I was not given the freedom to do that. I think what Mr. Comey delegated to me was the power of the Attorney General to conduct an investigation into a subject matter. I was not given the authority to expand the subject matter. If I was not appointed as a counsel, I was effectively delegated the powers of the Attorney General. So if I was looking at some conduct and for some reason began to suspect anyone had engaged in tax fraud, for example, that was outside the scope of my mandate. I could not decide all of a sudden that it was important for me to investigate tax fraud. I could go in that circumstance to the Attorney General, or in that case the Acting Attorney General, and say, I have reason to believe there's tax fraud, and they would decide what the scope of that was. So I think that's been often misunderstood in the sense that the subject matter jurisdiction was given to me. It was not up to me to expand it. But in terms of following the facts wherever they took me within the subject matter, I had that authority. So I could go wherever the facts took me in terms of what I was investigating, but I couldn't decide to expand my mandate beyond that.
Okay. I want to sort of throw out a hypothetical situation for you here. If Assistant U.S. Attorney John Durham is given essentially the same authority that you were given in your role, do you think that it would be proper or improper for him to investigate the underlying conduct of the tapes?
And I think I will conduct myself the way I did when I was special counsel, which is to stay within the lane of my authority. And I can answer what I know as special counsel, but I really don't feel comfortable opining about what someone else should do in another case that isn't under my authority. I really don't.
Okay. I'll let you refuse to opine on that out of respect for the job that you do. By all accounts, you and your team that were investigating the CIA leak investigation expended significant time and energy on that case. Do you think that you should have been required to submit a report to the Attorney General at the conclusion of your investigation explaining the prosecutions or the decision not to prosecute?
I've already answered this, so I can tell you I was not required to there was no statute in effect. And I think in terms of if you're asking submitting a report to the Attorney General was recused, and because a charge resulted, I think people learned a fair amount about what we did. They didn't learn everything. But if you're talking about a public report, that was not provided for, and I actually believe, and I've said it before, I think that's appropriate. I think that when a grand jury is used in an investigation, as it was in that case, we both expect everyone to come forward and cooperate with the grand jury. We expect them to be fully candid, and in fact, that's what led to a prosecution when someone lied under oath to the grand jury. But we owe it back to people to respect the secrecy of the grand jury, and you can't tell people come into the grand jury, it'll remain secret, and then later, when people want you to explain what it is that you did, pull back the cloak of secrecy. I think we're going to go down that road, we have to follow through the rules. So we did not reveal anything that had not otherwise been revealed. So I don't think a public report was allowed, and I don't think it should have been called for.
Do you think a report to Congress is something that would be prudent in order to increase transparency, or do you think that that would be a bad idea as well?
Well, I don't want to speak outside my lane again. I fully recognize that the Congress has an appropriate role to play in oversight. I also recognize that the executive branch has to have space within which it can do business and confer amongst itself. And I also think there has to be an ability for prosecutors to make prosecutive decisions, knowing that the discussion stays behind closed doors, and also it would be, knowing that the grand jury rules, which prohibit sharing of grand jury information that is not otherwise public, are not violated. So I don't. I see the concerns on both sides. I know just from my narrow point of view, we can't break the grand jury rules and do something that's not authorized. As to the larger tension between the executive branch's independence and confidentiality and the Congress's right to conduct oversight, I think I should not be the spokesperson for that.
Okay, thank you. My time has expired. At this time, I will recognize Mr. Cannon for 5 minutes of questions.